another episode of You, Me, and the Flea.
We are going to be spilling the tea on all things Flea.
We absolutely are.
Now, Kristina is once again the marketing director of SwapORama. We have 3 locations in Chicago and 2 in Central Florida.
Central Florida,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what is kind of your goal with this podcast?
Okay, so I want to take a magnifying glass and put it over the flea market industry. So what does that mean? What the heck am I saying? I'm saying I want people to understand the ins and outs of all things flea, literally, like you said. The goal for me is to give a voice to this awesome, cool, unique, badass industry, whether it's vendors that sell there, whether it's visitors that go there, whether it's people that are super passionate about secondhand buying, whether it's, you and I's experience. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of things, right? But I definitely want to allow people to have a platform to do all of that. Super excited to do that with this, because if it is out there, which I don't think it is, yeah, I think we could be louder. You know what I mean?
Let's get loud. Let's get loud.
Thanks, J-Lo.
Insert J-Lo, please.
Yes. So I think that's it. And so I think today I would love to, like I was saying, people that maybe have never gone to a flea market or have heard it but just don't know it. Maybe you see it every day on your way to work or something like that and what it is. And so I think in today's episode, I would love to just dive into that and just create kind of like our own definition, if you will.
Sure.
Right? Because, it's you, me,
and the flea.
So today we're going to talk about the flea.
Okay.
So the first thing I kind of want to do is define it a little bit. So excuse me, I wrote it down.
Well, yeah, if you're going to get an actual definition, we need notes.
I was going to bring the Webster dictionary, but I didn't. So anyways, a flea market. A flea market is defined by a flea market in general or a swap meet. And so the definition is a type of market that provides space for vendors to sell previously owned goods. Okay. Rachel, you've been to a flea market, so you clearly know that it's not just secondhand goods anymore. And so touching a little bit on that too, history lesson, if you will, just a little history. Obviously, flea markets did not just start in the US. If you've traveled, you know that there's always some sort of markets going on, street fairs, whatever. So they were said to like kind of start in this 1800 process, right? Where it's like, if you watch Bridgerton or like any of those freaking shows, like
love
you could see,
Bridgerton,
right? You could see like kind of that old school mentality where, if you had cows, you brought your milk to sell. If you had, if you were the farmer, you brought your farmer things to sell.
I feel like you could go back to any culture, any country.
Anywhere.
I know that there's markets in Poland that are outside that people are selling their goods at.
I think like, to your point, like historically, again, going back to like some of these these historical times where, there weren't as many retail stores and places to shop at. So you relied on, okay, I cut hair, so you give me milk and I'll cut your hair, right?
Sure.
Or like...
It was more of like a
barter system. Yeah.
Yep.
Swap, get it?
It was like a little swap.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it was.
SwapORama.
That's exactly what it was, right? It was like one of those things where, you have this, I have this, let's swap.
Service for service.
Correct. And so I think like that's kind of how it started from my background digging here. I think France was kind of the one that named it like technically a flea market. I'm not even going to butcher how to say the actual term here, but it started basically just them calling it that, like a flea market, because stuff was secondhand and it was older.
Sure.
And so people assumed that there might be fleas. Because there's also like another origin story that says something about in like the late 1800s or like early 1900s, there was a flea market that started in like the riverside of like Manhattan in New York. Okay. And because it was like on like swap land, they called it like the fly market, the fly and flea market. So I think like these terms just kind of stuck. And again, it was like the only property that was available at the time to kind of have this like street market on. So that's just kind of how it's stuck. And it's just like so interesting because again, I think like today, like we have this like stigma of like flea market, like, you know, gross, but
I just feel like the name could be a little sexier.
For sure. So anyways, right now, I think roughly approximately there's about 5,000 known flea markets that operate in the U.S. today.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of those vary depending on where you're located.
Sure.
Typically, okay, so I guess I've been to quite a few in this country, obviously being in the U.S., being in this industry. I also sit on a national flea market board.
I was going to say, can we get a one-time for Kristina Dukas? She is on the National Association of Flea Markets.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about them too. But thank you. Yes, round of applause. So anyway, so I've seen quite a few, and it's so interesting because, you know, I defined this earlier with like, you know, swapping and like secondhand stuff.
Sure.
And it's incredible that some of these markets today are insane. We have, you know, friends in Texas that run and operate flea markets there that have an entire amusement park full of rides.
Okay.
So in addition to,
Wait.
literally
Amusement park?
Yes. Like literally you can get wristbands and like it is like a mini Great America in a flea market.
Where?
In Texas.
So
they're
cool.
also in Colorado. There's also ones with amusement rides in California.
Okay.
When you think about, so
it's more of like I wouldn't say like the flea, like I understand what a flea market is and we're going to, you know, explain it to you guys, but I feel like when you say amusement park and rides, it's more of like an entertainment, all in one experience.
Yeah. So I think with that being said, it's like because of these have been around for so long and historically, like when we jump into Swap's history, we'll jump into like that a little bit more, but later in the 1900s, right? Like 50s, 60s type of vibe, we saw a lot of like theaters and drive-ins and all this stuff, right? So people were driving up to a drive-in, so a parking lot essentially, and watching movies like on a Saturday night. And then the owners of that actual property kind of were like, well, what else can we do on our property to like make money, obviously?
Sure.
And that's kind of where flea markets like started too around here, like in the Midwest especially, and like, around like whatever people's stories was, it was kind of like, how else can we capitalize on our property? And so that's where we saw a lot of, you know, like, okay, come see, I'm throwing a movie out there, come see Batman, you know, Saturday night and then stay for the flea market the next day, right? Or like come back kind of thing. Or like, you know, there would be like concessions and like all this stuff, and it would be, you know, maybe there was a 1 o'clock showing and then the flea market ended at that time or something, so it was like a lot of crossover or something. So anyways, like that's kind of like how, so going back to this like amusement section, it's like people have, you know, 100 acres. It's like, what do we do with this? Like we can add this element of entertainment. So I'm going to throw out some like other cool things that people are doing today with their properties. Like, so like I mentioned, amusement parks, there are a lot of flea markets that will do live entertainment every weekend. I know Swap tries to do that as well.
I was going to say, I've definitely been to a few different events at Swap. Yeah. You know, within the 3 locations here in Chicago, at least. Yeah. That is entertainment.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like while you're there, you want to have a good time. And again, we want to capitalize space. If there's open space, like people want to do that. There's a lot of our friends that run flea markets elsewhere too that will do like some sort of festival or like more specific markets, right? Like they'll run like a vintage one, or like now we're seeing like Comic-Con and like people like hosting that kind of stuff, or like crab boils, you know what I mean?
So fun.
Like,
Love yeah,
exactly. Totally. So it's just really cool. And I think corn mazes are like popular, or like pumpkin patches, like kind of merging experiences. And again, like for example, the pumpkins, it's like pumpkin farmers are selling that stuff anyway. So it's like, let's bring that. And then like, let's kind of give you like some space to like create like a pumpkin maze or something like that. And just, you know, hit 2 birds with 1 stone and kind of like feed each other and scratch each other's back.
We love a good pumpkin fest.
But yeah, no, it's super cool. So, and I think too, like, to speak on, you know, some of this like actual definition too, like we are seeing a bunch of, you know, you mentioned like in France going to them, in Greece, it's like that's where you shop. You shop at the Agora, which is, you know, every Wednesday and then every Saturday and Sunday, and you're getting your fish, all of your food, you're getting purses, you're getting whatever it is at low rates. You're supporting people. It's a fun thing to do. And it's every weekend. And then that's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like a lot of, especially like where we're from in Greece, like it's a pretty small village, right? So it's like, these people are traveling, right? Like it's like trucks full of like melons from, you know, other parts of Greece or something, or whatever.
Products.
Exactly. So it's like these people are selling on wheels anyway. And so it's just part of life there. It's not like we're going to Walmart. Like we're maybe transitioning to a lot of that stuff, but like old school villages, no.
I feel like it's
you're
still
getting
around though. It's still around. It's different. It's like a different one. I feel like I've kind of told you this on like my experience with like the flea market and swap, you know, in particular, but it's more of an emotional sale. It's more of an experience than just going to your self-checkout line and paying for your cantaloupe. Like it's interesting too in Greece. Oh my gosh, my sisters and I, there's so shout out to all my Greek friends out there because they know what I'm talking about right now when I say this. There is literally trucks. Like, okay, so imagine like a pickup truck, like a bigger truck bed maybe. And like there are people that will take like plastic patio chairs, wrap them around the top of the car. And then you got like watermelons, fresh fish, like random items, okay? And they're just coming up and down the streets in like the straight up village. And it is so funny because they literally have mega horns and they're just like, I won't say anything. It'll be like, watermelon, get your watermelon kind of thing. Like an ice cream truck. Let's hear it in Greek.
Nope, not doing it.
Come on. Come on.
Another time. But anyways, like, and it is part of it. It like wakes you up. It startles you. And it's so funny because my grandma would literally like run out and be like, oh yeah, we need fish. Like, and she wouldn't have to like be inconvenienced with going to get it. It was like fresh fish, locally produced, like right there at your door every like morning. And it was so funny. But anyways, going back to this a little bit, in this industry, which a lot of people I think again have negative stigmas, which we'll talk about, but this is a $36.1 billion industry. Like this is
Can
not
I get that
joke.
again? Yeah. One time for the people in the back.
So it's like 36.1, 39.1, something like that.
Billion?
Billion.
Okay.
With a B, baby. So like, you know, again, it's like you can sit back all you want and think that this is not for you or you don't shop there or whatever, but it is like pretty big deal. And they're like slating that it's going to be a $50 billion industry within the next year or two, which is insane. Like, which makes me like proud to be in an industry like that because again, like knowing from the ground, like how it operates, it like makes me super proud to like be a part of it. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool, like I said, that people are evolving it and making more than it is and like really capitalizing on it. I think it's super cool.
I agree.
So then I want to also like mention, you know, because as operators, like we always talk about, you know, fears or like our challenges, right, that might happen in the flea market. And I did look into some statistics and it's like literally like the Gen Z, 37% of them prefer to resell shop.
Not surprised by that.
I'm not either.
I feel like they are just a bit smarter. They're
unique ones.
Say smarter.
They're
very
unique,
eclectic.
For sure.
Eclectic, which would be a great word on how I would describe a flea market.
For sure. And then next to them, obviously, is our group of millennials, which is 27% prefer to resell shop. And then we have boomers that are at 19%. Throw out a few numbers. But like, I think this is crazy interesting because in a world where like fast fashion is like taking over and like kind of like all this interesting stuff happening with global warming or like, just like all these catastrophes that kind of like are happening, right? And it's like, it is cool to like buy something old and making it like
new
and
your own.
Literally.
I'm all for it.
I mean, let's like, aside from like the clothing part, because I can understand why people might not be interested in like wearing, you know, used shirts or something like that. Whatever. If that's not the avenue you want to take here, which I don't see why not. But this whole like resale industry is super cool to me, because it's like there are so many people that make things almost better than like things that are sold in stores, right? It's like you get like this like nightstand and like people will literally sand it, paint it, change the knobs on it, and it is like stunning.
Redo.
Yeah. So I'm just
I love seeing like, this is what I bought at the flea market and this is what I made out of it.
Flips and like all this stuff is so freaking cool. Yeah. And so
and
like,
you find like those one of a kind pieces.
Mm-hmm. The quality of things are changing, where it's like, you know, you buy a dresser today, you like tap it, it's like not real wood anymore. Do you know what I mean? And like you can go to a Flea, literally find something that is like older, and like I said, just make it into something that's like stunning. What better place to go than, you know, a place that you're directly impacting someone's family by like supporting a small shop, but then B, you're also supporting, you know, the environment and your wallet. You know,
we love budget friendly.
We love budget friendly. So yeah, so those are some things like in terms of that. And I do kind of want to touch on too, like how, with all that being said, like how like eBay is like so popular now, or like Poshmark, or like the Real, or like Tradesy.
Well, I mean, even you want to think, I mean, like right now, Lululemon just did like launched a whole basically lightly worn part of like their website of like Lululemon clothing that's been gently worn and reselling it.
Yeah.
Nordstrom is going to start doing it. Like there's so many places that are going to start this whole gently worn, barely worn,
previously loved,
almost new.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I think it's also cool too how like, you know, brands will do, I've seen this, I don't know if you have too, where it's like they'll take like, I don't know, a Louis Vuitton bag, and it might like be fringed or like frayed.
They like redo the handles and the sides, and it's like
to cover the flaws, we'll like refurbish it in that way. Like I just think all of that's cool, and we're moving towards that. And so go to the Flea, man.
You need to. Seriously.
I'm curious to think or to hear maybe in your own words, like what because you've been to SwapORama, you've been to all 3 locations.
Sure.
You've seen some other markets. Oh, like also how cool, like in Seattle, like that open market that like throws the fish and like,
I mean,
yeah, like all this stuff is like super cool. Or like we've been to
like
some
I
Chicago
said, I think right now people are at a place where they had a 3 years with COVID.
Yeah.
Post-COVID is hard. There's layoffs in every industry. Inflation, prices are crazy. Gas is crazy. Renting, mortgage rates, everything is going up. People's paycheck is not going up.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I still live and somewhat have the things I want and want to do without spending a ton of money? And I feel like a day at Swap for me, it's like a day date, you know what I mean? Like I've gone with my boyfriend, like we've gone, walked around. It's something to do. You're not spending a ton of money. You can eat, you can dance,
just walk,
you can walk, you can try stuff, you can buy stuff, you can sell stuff. I feel like people are getting more so into a headspace of like experience over like, if they can do it all in one place at one time for like a good price, it's more convenient for them.
Of course. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I also think it's cool that especially I feel like the past, 5 to 10 years, I would say like, I mean, I don't remember being younger and seeing a lot of like farmers markets.
Sure.
Or like a lot of like these like like you go to a festival and now there's like vendors there and stuff, and there's like, I don't know, I feel like it's trendy, clearly, and so it's like super cool to like go support someone that has like local honey or whatever. I just think it's super cool that, you know, that this stuff is taking off a bit, you know? Agree. And it's like,
we love to see it.
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
So I don't know, like when we talk about like what is a flea market, obviously I've touched on the actual things, like what people sell there. You'll see, you know, we've mentioned, you'll see antiques, you see food, you see this like entertainment component. But I think like the one thing I do want to highlight too, like in this definition, because it is like super important.
Sure.
Is our flea markets, man, they support communities in ways that like I can't even explain, especially like you mentioned COVID. Like Swap was considered essential during this time. And it was like so incredible to see like safely, right? Because we and again, like you have to be so like flexible and ready for anything in a flea, which is also something that's so weird, is like, don't forget that this business is like dominantly weather like based. So It's like if it's raining, if it's cold, if it's snowing, we're still open. And so, but that impacts someone's business, someone's livelihood, someone's operation. And so it's so resilient, the people that sell there, and you have to like be ready for like all these punches on a regular basis. In addition, when COVID was here and we had to cut back and we couldn't have all these people, and we were literally taking customers coming in because we couldn't have like, you know, full capacity and stuff. It was just so freaking cool to see people supporting people, because people were out of their jobs. People didn't have like their normal income streams, right? Or people were like affected and impacted so hard with all this stuff.
Right.
And just seeing like on a regular basis too, like not even just COVID, but like seeing like people rally and like come and support each other and like buying like your produce or your goods like from your neighbor is like pretty awesome. And I definitely want people to know that about flea markets. Like you really are supporting people, you know.
Sure.
You know, or like you're supporting like families, you know, you're supporting dreams. Mm-hmm. Like we will have like hopefully some really cool vendors on in later episodes, but like hearing some stories of like people putting their kids through college, or like, you know, having like a second income or needing a second income, you know, or being an extension to their storefront or something like that. Like hearing all of these stories is like just so super, super, super cool. Yo, if you're a collector out there,
get a spot in line.
I can't wait to
with us.
I can't wait to talk to you about your hustle.
Shoot.
For all the collectors out there. But anyways, like I think the last thing I want to talk about in this episode about, you know, what is a flea, I kind of want to bring up some of the nasty like comments / like myths that I hear people, and like it's gonna be bad, but like I just want to hear like your thoughts, like if it's true or not.
So I'm gonna say true or false.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Hit me with it.
All right, here we go. Dirty.
False.
Old.
False.
Fake.
False.
Stolen.
False. Stolen?
Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
Shady.
No, false.
Haggle.
What's haggle? I'm kidding. False.
Defective.
No, false.
Not many choices.
Definitely false.
Rotten or spoiled.
Absolutely false. I have actually bought a ton of fruits and vegetables and produce from Swap.
And cheap.
That's true.
Well, like cheaply made.
No, cheaply priced.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Like you could have a great weekend day there. Yeah. The market, even during the week, is like never. I'm always thinking it's going to be like dead.
Yeah.
And we get there and I'm like, so this is what's going on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. in Chicago, Illinois. Got it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
I mean, literally, like, do you want a gold chain? Do you want to go buy a full face of makeup products, like anything you need, we got.
Yeah, just like cool custom stuff. It's just awesome. Dictionary has changed. Like the dictionary definition has changed, or it's not all that it is. It's
much more.
I think it's very limiting. Yeah, and it's
if you look up flea market in the dictionary, you are not going to get what we are telling you about. Like we are literally living firsthand experience on what going to a flea market in March of 2023, ladies and gentlemen, is like.
Whoa.
We want, and Kristina, right, from what I'm gathering, you want to be a voice.
For sure.
And you want people to speak on not only their experience, but if you are in like the flea market industry or you work for a nonprofit, thrift store, we would love to hear from you.
Totally.
And hear about like your experience, how you got involved.
I think I'd be curious to hear anyone in the space of a flea market, whether you're a seller, a shopper, anything. What do you define it as? Like, what do you think a flea market is? Definitely,
and what's
like
your
DM
favorite
us
part?
Or hit us up and let us know, because
this is you, me,
and the flea.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks.